Page 50, Prelude, Opus 28, number 15. Also known as the Raindrop Prelude. Very gentle piece. Piece you can fall asleep to. 4/4 time. Start out with the right hand. The eighth notes in the left hand is going to help keep this rhythm going okay. So just as long as your hands are coordinated between the two hands, you should be fine. Just watch this fingering. And the second measure is thumb on the B. We're going to finger this legato. Second line, 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 4 and out. The phrasing, I don't care for the phrasing. Look at the second line there. In the first measure, you're ending a phrase. And then here. To me, it's unmusical. To this, the 16th notes is a lead in to here. It's like an ornament between this note and here. That's what it is, and they stuck this little ornament in there. And I would connect all of those. I wouldn't break any of that. You know, you generally don't break in an ornament. You don't break what follows it. You connect the ornament to it. So connect all that together, even though that's a different phrase, connect it. And you do that some more. Over on page 51, at the top, you have it B flat. Watch the fingering. Yes, that last B is still a B flat. They have, on the A's, they have a 3, 2. I like the idea of using different fingers on repeated notes. You don't really have to. You could go ahead and just stay there and play it with a 3. But put a thumb on that G on the next measure, and now lift up. That is a new phrase there. And then in the second line, it's 4, 3. All legato. And that's tied to an eighth note. And then a 2 if you want. I like that. Don't have to. You can play it with 3 again if you want. But put it, a thumb on the A, the first note in the third line, and lift up. It's a new phrase. Same thing again. Lift up. Now have you put third finger. This is third line down, last measure. Here, the third finger on the D. Don't know why. Fourth finger works just fine, and it's there. Because when you do the DC at the bottom, the DCs go back to the beginning, then you have that E, and you're in position if you just stay there. There. Now, at the bottom of page 51, that measure, the first measure, ends a slur, and then they go back to the beginning. If you want to break it there, I guess you can. I tend to connect that to lead. I don't know. It's an interpretive thing, and you'll have to decide if you're going to lift up at the end of that phrase before you go back to the beginning, or just connect it. You keep in mind these arrangements are arrangements, and they've been edited, and things are not necessarily the way the composer intended. I'm too lazy to go look it up, so we'll go with what they've got. Now, into the second line on page 50. You have a 2 coda with a coda sign, and then at the bottom of page 51, that's where it is. So you're going to play the coda. I'm at the bottom of page 51, it's third finger. And then it's 1, 4. Play it with the thumb and substitute the fourth finger so that you can play it legato. We want that. Now for the left hand. Again, the left hand is supporting. Keep it soft. This whole thing is soft pretty much, but the left hand has to be really soft. And legato. Connect it. Whether you use fifth finger on all these G's is up to you. You can do a 4 or 5, 4, 5. It's good practice. This is a fairly slow piece anyway. If you want the practice of using different fingers on repeated notes, this is a good piece to do that in, but you can use fifth on all of them if you want. First line, last measure there on page 50, it's an F. You can use thumb on both or second finger. You have to decide how you're going to finger this. Second line, first measure here. I tend to use thumb on all those. It's all eighth notes pretty much. You do have the occasional half note stuck in. Let's go to the top of page 51. You're here. Scrunch up, put fifth finger. B flat. Drop down. And then here. Go ahead and connect this if you can. We can't connect this. The pedal will help, but you can connect this to the B flat. Second line, you're here. A on the bottom now. Just keep fourth finger on the A. This is 4-1 for the G sharp D, so you can reach down with a little finger and get the E. Reach. And then we're 1-3 going on. Legato, connect it all with the fingers. The third line down, I tend to want to put fourth finger on that A once I've done it. The first one could be there, but then I want to do this and get into this position, because as it progresses here, it's just easier for me if I'm in this position. So I get there. For the third line down on 51, you're starting here, here, and then I'll get into that position. I've had this before. Now the left hand, when you, at the bottom, when you do the DC back to the beginning, the left hand is all legato. You connect the left hand. There's no break in the left hand. Regardless of what you're doing in the right hand, the left hand is all legato. So when you go back to the top, it's there. There. And at the bottom on the coda, you just, and then 2. I tend to do on repeated notes, it's just a habit. I'll do a 2-1, 2-1 or something. So I'm not playing the same note all the time. And then the chord, it's either 5-1 or 5-2, depending on which finger I'm on for the G. Don't care whichever it could be. It could be either one. So work out this fingering so you get as legato as you can, and then we try and put the fingers together. See, if you try and do this both ends at once right off the beginning, you miss a lot of this fingering thing of you're thinking of one hand and the other hand gets abused and you're not thinking about it, and one hand at a time until you get the fingering worked out. Then put them together, and if you've changed fingering, make sure you pencil it in so you stick with that fingering. We want to hear the right hand. Decide how loud piano is. How loud are you going to play that? And you make the other hand softer. Here I lift up with the right hand, but the left hand stays down. Again, I lift it up with the right hand, but the left hand stays down. Watch out on the second line, last measure here. The E's tied over, then here and then here. Lift up, third line down, first measure, lift up the right hand. It's the end of a phrase. tend to retard just a little bit at the end before I go back. There's nothing that says that. It's an interpretive thing. It's how I felt it, so I did it that way. So then the coda, you're here. There's a little poco retardando there. You can slow down a little bit. That's what I did on the other one. We connect this to here. There, like so. All with the hands, all with the fingers. We do it without pedal because the pedal is going to cover stuff up, and we want to hear it clearly first to make sure we got the fingers working right. It's important. Then when you're happy with it, you can go back and add the pedal. The pedal, you got to watch out because we want the pedal to enhance it, not get in the way. And a lot of people, the way they pedal it, the pedal just takes over. It's overlapping pedal. It's legato pedal, whatever you want to call it, but we want to hear some phrasing and things, and we don't want to get it blurry. So at the beginning, they're showing, well, this first line, if I pedal it the way they're showing, this is what I get. It's okay for the most part, it's just that beginning. That's a little blurry to me. That's like, ugh. So what I suggest you do is change the pedal on beat 2. It's here. Right after you play that, lift up and put down. So we clear that out. We don't want all this. We don't want all that. So it's this way. I mean, they do clear it in the third measure. So why not clear it here? Well, maybe it's an error. Maybe they meant to and didn't. But you can pencil it in. Put a little arrow thingy there in the pedal line there, so you change it on beat 2. Same thing, second line, second measure, and anywhere else in here you get this, change it on beat 2 here. Here, I might mention also on the first line second measure and the second line second measure, if you want to change it on beat 4 on the second line second measure, you can. See, they did change it on the first line second measure here, there, and on the second line you can do the same thing here, change it to here. There if you want, that's fine. It clears it out. I like that. I like clear. Third line down, second measure. I lift up with the right hand at the end of the phrase and I don't pedal the last beat. So it's here. On the top of page 51, the first line, the last measure, I pedal with the right hand because I'm lifting up between beats 2 and 3 for the phrase. The pedal comes up with the hand and it'll go down after I play beat 2. It's here. And I'm pedaling each of these beats here. So that first line on page 51, I do it this way. The second line is similar to the first line, so I'm going to pedal it pretty much the same way. The first measure, I can change the pedal on the fourth beat, and then the second measure, I can pedal it every 2 beats, or every beat on the first 2 beats. It's here. Change, change. I kind of like that better. It keeps it clean. And then here, pedal, 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 and keep it down. You don't need to change the pedal between the third and fourth beat on the last measure of that second line. So in the first measure, I'm pedaling the first 3 beats, change it. In the next measure, I'm changing on each of the first 3 beats. Keep it down, and then change on the next measure. I'm changing on the second beat and the third beat, and that's it. And then in the third line, I'm lifting up the pedal with the hand. It's a phrase. And then the second measure, this is the same as we've been doing, pedal with each beat to start with. And then here, then you can keep it down for the rest of the measure. Then change it. Actually, I lift it up on beat 1 of the third measure, because I want the phrase in the right hand. Then change each beat. And then you repeat back up, and I keep the pedal down. It's legato to me. Then on the coda, when you go to the coda, start with the last measure of the second line there on page 50. You're here. Go to the coda. Just like the pedaling is shown is fine. Now, dynamic-wise, the whole thing is overall soft, but once you get to feeling it, you'll feel it a little louder and softer. If you look at the end of the first line, it shows it going up. That's the right hand going up. Keep the left hand soft. And then the first of the second line on page 50, you come back down. Take your time getting there. And I tend to come up. Oh, we want to go to here. Go up to here. Is how that should be felt. That's why I don't like the phrasing they've done there. And then the last line on page 50, you're getting a little louder. Not really loud, just a little louder. Maybe sort of soft. And now you're medium soft. This is a little louder than you've been doing. Not loud, just a little louder. Of keeping this intensity more or less. I might adjust it just a little bit as I feel it until I get down to the third line. When that phrase, now this is soft. So the first measure of the third line. Has to be softer than it was before. So let's start with the second line. We're still sort of medium soft here. There should be a noticeable difference between the first note on the third line first measure, the first note, and the second, soft. So. This is a little louder. And then at the bottom, you're coming back down to soft. When you go back to the top, you have to put in these dynamics and experiment with them, otherwise this piece is boring, in my opinion. Now, second line, last measure there on page 50, we're soft, and go to the coda. Now up to medium soft. You have to go all the way down to very soft, and at the end, at the fermata, and what you do is what I suggest is you let the keys up and then very slowly lift the pedal up, and the sound will just die away. If it's good. Hopefully you don't get any buzzing or anything, the sound just dies away. Yeah, very nice.